Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Life Stories Sold with Love by She's Mom. Last time, our guest taught us how to avoid stress and how to be happy with the present. Today, our guest, Pedro Rocha, a technology enthusiast. So, welcome to our podcast, Pedro. How are you?
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Andrea, for the invitation. And I'm really good. Really glad to be here to have this chance to share a bit. And indeed, when you call me a technology enthusiast, it's interesting because it's how we see technology. It makes an entirely difference on the things that we create and how we affect the people around us. So it's really a topic that I love.
Okay, we will get there.
Mhm.
Pedro, can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get rush into the subject of technology?
Yeah, for sure. So, well, my name is Pedro Rocha. Hello. I'm actually from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and I'm here living in Lisbon for 3 years now. And my journey, I would say that it started. The thing started to really take some shape when I had a daughter with 18 years. So that was something that totally changed my life. And no, it wasn't planned for sure. and and then I started to work right a bit before that, and that relationship with having to raise a kid, and I was a solo father. Uh, re- Reasons beyond the topic here, but the idea of educating, raising a kid, and having many different aspects made me want to start to study a lot about pedagogy and technology. As I was very into technology, I wanted to have a healthy relationship with technology for my daughter as well. And so, and also because of some some things that I saw with my friends about how they had a tough relationship with their parents. The parent with many friends reporting that their parents somehow blamed them
Mhm.
because they had to give up on their dreams, and especially their moms, because in our society, usually the moms would give up. And, not only in Brazil, I believe in many countries, the moms would actually give up their professional dreams to raise the kid. And that idea of living your life or raising a kid was always something very important to me, because I wanted to be sure that I wouldn't be that person to have a kid that later would feel bad because uh, her parents gave up on their dreams. So that idea of trying to balance study, work, and raising her, Daniela, well, that was always fundamental in my career, because I always wanted to give something better to grow. I always wanted to pursue something better. I didn't have a good condition, so I wanted to study to grow, and and I started to build my first company when I in 2010.
Oh, wow.
And it was very important for me to have this journey on entrepreneurship while raising a kid, and always trying to have this balance. But then this why it's fundamental to talk about my daughter is that I always brought that to the technology, because
How so?
because when we have a kid, we connect ourselves more with our future versions. We can see ourselves in the future more easily than people without kids. So that idea that your current decisions will last for longer someone will be affected by your current decisions. That was always very important for me, and because of that, my view on work, my view on how I would behave professionally, I started to always have a longer time frame. I was always thinking, okay, what can I do now that will help me have an impact, that will take me in 10, 15 years to that stage. And so the idea of moving to Europe was part of that idea about work and different things. But having this more holistic view on technology, let's say, was now getting a bit more to the professional side. This more holistic view was also fundamentally affected when I studied business administration with emphasis in marketing. Because I
Mhm.
was a software engineer, I'm a software engineer for 20 years, but I wanted to study about all the areas to know how to apply technology. And then I discovered studying marketing, why most of the technology projects fail, because they are always talking about the technology and not talking about people. And it is still the same nowadays. Like, we see people talking about AI, we see people talking about metaverse, all the new technologies comes with the same hype, and it's exactly the same as before. And it's funny that people love to talk about Steve Jobs and everything, but the biggest example about how to be more focused on people and not the technology was the iPod. That everybody at that time would say, "Oh, we have MP3 player with 200 megabytes, MP3 player with 500 megabytes," and then Steve Jobs came, 1,000 musics in your pocket, and that kind of thing. When I studied marketing, that made a total shift in how I perceived technology, and I started to study more about psychology, about human behavior, about a lot of other aspects that are really fundamental in how I work today, but that I still see most of companies, most of people neglecting. And so this take on the technology also over the time evolved to something very fundamental to me about community, that I also see as something very, very important, that is about being part of a community and not trying to be that entrepreneur that does everything alone. And I think that makes even more sense when you have kids. It like, you cannot be healthy, raise a kid, have a social life, and have a company if you are alone. It's
Okay, and
impossible.
I want to ask you something. How did you find the motivation to do all those things? I mean, I know the motivation, the main motivation was your daughter, but we are humans. We are not robots. So it's sometimes it's hard to just say, okay, I have to do this for my daughter. How did you find your motivation? Do you have some kind of ritual or?
I had different moments in life. I had moments in life that I was very lost, and something that was very important actually to me when I was 30 to 31. I had my crisis, like many people have. So I was, okay, what am I doing with my life? What do I want to do? And then I started to compare myself with a lot of people. I know I want to change. I want to know my purpose in life. I want to, and it took me, I would say, a few years to accept that not having control about everything and go with the flow, it's the best way to actually be happier. Because, yeah, what I have control, I can go and solve it. What I don't have, I can try to learn, study, do, but I will not manage to have all that. And so how my motivation was always about trying to learn more because I really like to. I'm curious and I like to learn, but to grow in life and to support people around me. To me, I get really happy when I can help others, and that took me to many different situations in life. And like today, working with the Startup Association here in Portugal, where we are volunteers just wanting to support other people, other projects to grow. So that is, I have my work that pay my bills. But when people ask, what do you do for life? Like, I pay my bills in a way. The things that I like and enjoy are different things, and usually are not related to money.
Yeah.
But I'm more as a volunteer on those things. But this idea of really learning, and somehow I think that I have some skills on translating complex text concepts to normal language. I discovered that that is something that I can do to help people. So I really like to be always in the loop with technology, and then try to create a bridge for people that are doing other things in other areas, and that I really value. I think that I don't think that everybody needs to be an engineer, that everybody needs to know how to code. I think that we need all the other areas, and we need more humans and not machines all the time.
Welcoming that from you, digital enthusiast. It's something, I think. And your project, as far as I understood, are related to social and technological digital world, right?
Yes, because actually that is a shift that I have been trying to do for a few years. That I worked with some impact related projects that they were amazing, but they couldn't make money, and so it wasn't sustainable. And then I had to move to other companies where I could make money. But I started to see that it didn't really fulfill my needs, my personal needs, to only be making money, a lot of money for other companies and growing the company. So I started to think about how can I get the knowledge and tools that I've learned working for big startups, for big corporates. Um, how can I get the things that I learned with them, and take to smaller projects, to smaller NGOs, to make it easier and cheaper for them. And that's why I started to get more connected as a volunteer into impact related projects, um, not only related to sustainability or nature, but social issues as well. And and it's something that I've been doing mainly as a volunteer, still, but because I'm doing this transition. But I work with digital product development, with software engineering, artificial intelligence, all these things to pay my bills, and the and but I've been working in talking to a lot of people about creating an incubator for impact related projects, so that we can bring all these very efficient and high performing concepts and tools into projects that are more focused on impact.
Okay, and being an entrepreneur in a foreign country, because you said you're from Brazil, what are the challenges that you faced when you came there?
Many. Yeah, no, it's funny that when we think about moving to another country, when you plan, even if you plan a lot, things will not go as you expect. Uh, but I think that people that are willing to not leave behind, but to be very far from their family and friends, to build something, to build a new life, they have they have a very strong energy and willingness to make it happen. So coming especially to Lisbon, first I studied a bit about the place I would like to go, and Lisbon was really a place that caught my attention because I saw that it was a place grabbing people from all over the world, and I and when I said before that I believe the community is something very fundamental for you
Mhm.
to actually grow. Lisbon, this is one of the things that I like in Lisbon the most. I believe that the community here, the ecosystem here, is very supportive and open. So you can find a lot of people wanting to help you, a lot of people wanting to work together. There are, I think that when we talk about money, you need money to investors and everything. I think all of that is a bit. Uh, it's something that depends a lot on what are you doing, but usually I believe that there is no shortage of money. There are plenty of money in the world. What we need is to connect to people and to projects that can help us get that. And that's why I believe that uh, when I came here, my biggest challenge was in the beginning to know, to meet people, to meet the places, and it was very exhaustive because I even make fun that I was a meetup junkie. I used to go to like 3 4 meetups every week for
Mhm.
many months because I was trying to understand the different tribes, the different groups in the city. And it was I had some funny situations that were when I saw that, okay, that group I don't want to belong. Uh, but it was also a very interesting personal discovery process because as I nobody knew me, I didn't know anyone. I came to a point when I thought, okay, so actually I can be whatever I want. I don't have to be, I don't have to be the one I was back in Brazil. And then I started to behave differently in each meetup, in each group, to discover which version of myself I will like the most. So being more extrovert, be more uh, let's say
Introvert, yeah.
introvert, yeah, no, introvert, but a bit more invasive, trying to get into the group without being invited, being more polite, being more, so many different, being more silly. So I could experiment a lot, and that was very valuable to me to discover about myself as well. But but yeah, that is after 3 years talking about that, it's easy and nice to say, but during that process, a lot of anxiety, a lot of questions about, oh, what am I doing, what am I looking for here, a lot of personal issues raised for sure. But I can totally say that what feel made me find my place here in Lisbon, in my new city, was to start joining projects as a volunteer. And the meetups were fundamental as well, but joining projects as a volunteer really helped me to have a bit of safe space to go and look for something else, because it's very, I think that it's very lonely in the beginning when you move to a different country, and to be and when you are building a company, you just work. So I ended up having a burnout. I
Oh.
got to the hospital, think that I was having a heart attack, and it was just anxiety. Uh, 3 times. I even got used. Okay, now I know that it's
Yes.
the last time it was funny because the doctor said, "Oh yeah, you are stressed, so you need that, and I need to cool down." And I said, okay, I understand I have to improve my lifestyle, but next week I have to present my company at Web Summit. So, do you have any remedy to give me?
Sleep,
But
probably.
yeah, but this journey was very valuable to help me discover a lot about myself and uh, about people. And it's very interesting that nowadays I help a lot of friends that to understand what they are facing, because anxiety is something that most of people don't really understand what it is. Like
And for our listeners who go through the same problem, can you teach us something that you teach your friends to go to do?
yes, for sure. There are some. First thing about anxiety that people don't know is that it can be physical. Uh, Most of people don't understand when they start to have those pressing
Yes.
feelings in the chest or in their guts, or having some spasms in the body, getting numb, the mouth getting dry, and headache. There are so many things, and uh, even some small pain in the back. Many things that people associate with heart attack, and that is crazy. But but what was very important in that process was that I started to learn to observe more when I'm starting to to feel something different, because having anxiety is not exactly a problem in itself, because anxiety is about worrying about the future. So sometimes you need to think about the future, okay, but a lot of friends and people that are close to me, they have they have situations where they get very anxious because they are trying to control the future. They are trying to know all the possibilities, to be sure that they are picking that one that will be perfect. And I think that is the biggest issue that we face nowadays, is that we live in a society that has so many options for everything, that if we don't accept that we are not going to enjoy all the possibilities, we'll just get anxious thinking about the other options instead of really living the moments in the ones that we have. Something very simple, but it's illustrative, is that when I want to go to a restaurant, or if I'm at the restaurant already, I and I I'm checking for options, especially at the restaurant. That to be even simple, more simple. If I have 10 options that I want to choose, oh, what am I going to do? Blah blah. If I spend more than 5 minutes on that, I pick the first. I don't get it, like, because there are 10 options that I like. It's not that I pick whatever is there, but no, I have 10 options, but I can be here nervous, anxious about that, or I can have one that I will try, and I can come back later if whatever. But and then I can enjoy the moment, and having the and I think that we can extrapolate that to work, to family, relationships with family. When we want to do everything, especially with kids. We want to provide everything for our kids, but it's not possible. And if you get sick because you are trying to be everything, you will not make it neither. So about anxiety, I think that the most important is about we start to understand that that is normal, and starting to understand, be able to perceive in your body and in your mind when you are starting to have a problem. Like one example, nowadays, if I start to spend a lot of time on Instagram, I know that there is something wrong. I added a limit of 45 minutes per day, And if I increase that and I'm there for 1.5 hours or 2 hours a day, I I I can see that, hey, there is something happening, because that is not my normal. So what am I trying to avoid? What am I why am I feeling bad that I'm trying to just uh, get lost into scrolling on Instagram? So these things about anxiety, they really, it's something that uh, it's not exaggerating. Almost every week I talk to a friend about, they been going through a lot of emotional issues, professional, family, and you see that they are really having anxiety crisis, sometimes even panic attacks out of nowhere. That is something becoming very normal, very usual, and I think that when we getting back to having a kid, when we have a kid, we pretend, we expect that we are perfect and we are always strong and capable of doing everything, but accepting that we are just humans like our kids and that we can learn from them, and and then we also start to learn a lot about our parents and why they failed somehow in some things about us, because it's really hard.
Yeah,
I think,
sometimes it can be.
yeah, all these emotional questions, I think they are fundamental for us to perceive uh, how to deal with ourselves, how to deal with people around us. And in my way of living, I bring all of that to technology as well, because I like to. I believe that we have to control the technology and not be controlled by the technology. So how we create the tools needs to always have these aspects in mind. How can we create something that will actually be healthy for people to use? How can we create something that can actually uh, really improve their lives and not only making money for us, no matter what it's causing? And I think that nowadays the technology world is very sick in that sense, that it's only about how to keep people in the loop to generate more revenue. So I like to bring this all these experiences, personal, into the balance as well.
Okay, so you think social media kind of make us more introverts, and is kind of correlated with anxiety?
I was reading this week one article talking about that we in a few decades ago we were used to uh, have our lives, know a bit about the lives of our family members or close friends, and other people we would barely know about it. We wouldn't would we we could maybe compare our life with our siblings, with someone close, but we didn't have all these potential other lives to be lived. Nowadays, you are comparing yourself with a lot of people who you never met, that who never met you. So you would there's no sense in be comparing at all. You only see the beautiful part. So that idea of believing that all those things that we see on social media, on dating apps, they are real options available for your life, I think that is insane, because you really, well, by scrolling or swiping, you think that, oh, that could be a new path in my life. I could change career right now. I could move to another city. I could become a digital nomad. I could everything. When in fact it's not true. You don't really have all those options. But when these tools present you and hook you into that uh, uh, behavior, your mind gets tricked into believing that you really have those options, and then you get totally crazy because you are losing so many opportunities.
My God, the brain is really tricking us.
Yeah, no, that there is a TV show that I love called Brain Games.
Brain games.
Brain Games. It's a TV show. I don't remember. I've seen many years ago on Netflix, but I don't know where it's now. But on each episode, it would show a few ways that our mind can be tricked. So it would talk about magic, it would talk about advertising, it would talk about many things, but the focus was about showing how our minds are so primitive that they are so easily manipulated and 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 tricked into not pay attention to something and pay attention to something else. So, like with magics, usually what magics do is that they get your attention doing something while they do the other thing, like taking how to hide a glass, hide something. Like they are making a lot of noise to get your attention, and many other examples, like if you create a queue in the middle of a shopping center for no reason, a fake queue, suddenly people start to get into the queue. Humans like to get into a queue. It's totally insane, because this idea of belonging and not missing something, that even if they don't know that all these things, they are very deep into your brain, into our behavior. So that TV show is quite funny because it demystified that idea that we are so unique and special and fully aware of everything. No, we are animals, with very smart animals, but we can easily be fooled. We can easily, and the social media platforms, they use all that.
Okay.
But that TV show is really amazing. Brain Games. I totally recommend. I love that.
Okay, we should watch it. Pedro, as we are closing the podcast, I would like to ask you my last question. Um, what kind of message do you want our listeners to have? Or if there is a quote that guides you through your process, your life, that you want our listeners to have.
There is I think that the technology people, the big tech names, they do a lot of wrong things, and it's not a general example for everything. But Steve Jobs gave a speech at Harvard, I think, for the end of for the ceremony of the final ceremony of a group. And there is something that I believe that to me is very valuable and somehow can be useful for a lot of people, about being hungry and being foolish. And being hungry, it's about be curious, it's about looking for something, being alive. I think it's about lifelong education, that nowadays people talk a lot, that it's about you. It's not about money, it's about you. Have a passion, go be hungry for something, have a passion in your life. The be foolish is that we live in a society where we have so many rules, so many hard things to do, that we get boring. We get adults, like adults cannot be silly, adults needs to be serious all the time. No, let's be foolish a bit as well. Let's enjoy life a lot. And I would add, that is not part of Steve Jobs, but I would add, be gentle to yourself. I think that we have our limitations. We have or we had our life. No, nobody is the same, and I believe that being gentle to ourselves is something fundamental, because if you are just hungry and foolish and you can just go to build everything and try to do, you can also be quite sick in the end. But if you are gentle to yourself, to recognize your failures, to recognize your success, to recognize when it's hard, I think that being gentle to you and people around you is always valuable.
Oh, with each podcast, I learn so much, and I love the part when we close the podcast because it gave me the opportunity to live um, with a resume of okay, have passion, be kind with yourself, which is amazing. Thank you, Pedro, for today. It was a real
Thank
pleasure to
you.
talk to you.
Yes, yes. No, and yeah, if you allow me, I love to talk, so we can talk for hours. We can have a coffee session here, a full entire coffee session. But really appreciate. Thanks for the invitation.
Might be an idea. For our listeners, don't forget to subscribe and follow us for more inspirational stories. Have a great day, everyone.